I want to welcome you to Dream Chasers Radio with me, your host, Yeah Diamond. What's up, peoples? How you doing? It is a great day. I'm so very excited to be here. I am using a different camera. You guys know I was gonna talk. I was talking about that, the Samsung, and you guys gotta let me know what you think. But I have an amazing author on the show today, and I am just so very happy to have her here. All right, so I'm so very excited to have my next guest on the show. It's Miss Jacklyn Brown, and she has a book that we are all just like pawning for. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. Climbing out of depression. I mean, how many people do you know that's in depression, or are you in depression, or don't even know you're in depression? Well, let's talk to her and find out why she wrote this book. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So tell us about yourself first of all.
Well, I worked on a crisis line, and I am a counselor and an ordained minister. And before that, I was a mathematician, figuring kill probabilities on missiles. Uh, so I love solving problems, and
Oh, that's crazy.
so yeah, I know it's a wild career, but it's been interesting, and I've learned a lot of things. But I I so enjoy looking at a problem and digging down into it to find out what the core essence of it is, and then bringing it up and seeing what I can do with it and if I can
Wow.
solve it. So that's just my way of thinking. I love mysteries too. So who knows? But I have a very positive philosophy. So my goal is to get people thinking ahead and getting their mindset to knowing what's bothering them and realizing that they can solve it. Every problem has a solution.
Yes, it does.
So you just have to work on it. My book is very simply written. I like talking to the reader, and I pretend they're there while I'm writing the book. I don't use technical terms to impress them or to confuse the readers at all. I just try to keep it nice and simple, like me. I use quotes, analogies, scenarios, real life stories, and my own personal narrative, so I can help people gain insights into what their problem might be and how they can make their lives better. The book focuses on the mental and the emotional part of a person, and if they can change to reset their goals and their ambitions by making a little tweaking of what they're thinking. Too often we're focused on all the negative and all the problems and not allowing ourselves to get beyond that and to get into the solutions. And that's where I'm headed, is the solutions. Gotcha. Excuse me. I love Wayne Dwyer's quote. He said, if you change your mind, you will solve the problem. So get your mind off the problem and put your mind on the possibilities. And I believe in possibilities. I know there are miracles and all kinds of good stuff out. I did have a little quote in my book that I'd like to share with the listeners today.
Yes, please do.
I write strange. I write from what I feel and weird connections. So bear with me. This very situation may be the call to wake up and take responsibility. You and only you can take off the blinders of helplessness. It's not quite like Clark Kent stepping into a phone booth and suddenly becoming Superman, but it does mean reaching inside yourself to find the wisdom and the strength that will eventually bring you to the surface. And I have no doubt that you can make it. I have a little demonstration for you too.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
This is great. I love this. This is new. Go ahead.
I have a dime, and a dime is a very small thing. But if you put it right against your eye and try to tell what it is, you can't tell. You can't tell because you have to put distance between your eye and the dime, and then it's all clear again. The problem is the same way. As long as you're holding it real close to your eye, you're not able to see any kind of solution. You don't even know what the real problem is. So move it out, give yourself some distance. Our blinders of the helplessness are much like that dime. We put the blinders on and say, I can't help myself. I can't help myself. Oh, no, you don't have to go on a pity party. Just relax and put things out there and look at the composite of it and see what you can change and what you can't change. One thing while working on the crisis line that I did learn, and that's the fact that you have to always start with the person where they are, not where you as the counselor thinks they should be. So you've got to go into that problem, let them look at it, let them try to find their own solutions out, just give them little hints along the way. I think that's so important to not get wrapped up in the problem or get wrapped up as a counselor in what you think the answer is, because your answer and theirs may not be the same thing. So we have to back off from that belief. Excuse me. I've even read that with as many suicides as going on, it's just astronomical these days, that even with the number, there are about 80% of people with depression that never get any help at all. They don't go for it or they can't get it. I understand that because there was a time in my life when my mother died. It was very sudden. And she was my best friend. She was my helper. Just she was everything to me. And then she was gone. Well, when I had to go from one house to another, I had to go up a freeway. And off of the freeway was off ramp to the cemetery where she was buried. For about a year or so, I cried every time I went on that highway because it just hurt me so bad to know that she wasn't with me in physical body.
Yeah.
And so I went to a doctor. That was fun. I told him all the problem and he wasn't interested. He could care less. At least he didn't offer medication, but I didn't ever went back to him. He didn't even seem to care about talking to me about it. And so many times our friends, our relatives, somebody needs to listen and they don't listen. They just sort of blow it off as if that's not important. And it is important to the person and to their well-being if they're going to get out of it. I'm sorry, it gets a little bit emotional, but
Yeah.
I try to help people overcome their emotional barriers and their traumas.
Mm-hmm.
I think this book would be very helpful to veterans because, as I said, I was married to a vet.
Right.
I had a lot of problems that I didn't know about and I didn't understand. I didn't even realize what I could do to help him with it. Healthcare workers, anybody that's working with people that have depression. I think it can also be a tremendous workbook for people so that they can take it one step at a time and go through it, stop, and then go through it again or move on to the next step. I have one friend that has a son who's adult son that's mentally challenged. I gave her the book. She gave it to him. He read it twice during 1 week. And he says, Mom, there's so much in it, but some of the words are awfully big. Well, I don't use big words, but it all depends on where you are. But he was willing to take it and work with it. I have another acquaintance that was unfortunate enough to be shot while someone was robbing the bank. And well, they weren't actually robbing the bank, they were murdering their wife. But anyway, she was involved in it and just as a witness, and she was hurt. She was traumatized.
Well, of course.
And when she got back to work, I waited a while. And then I said, would you like to have this book? And she said, oh, yes, please. And she said, it's so nice because I can take it, I can read, and then I can pause and think about what I've read. Exactly. I don't have to read the whole book to get the thing.
Right.
So that was a real good feeling for me. And also I'm glad it was helping her to some extent. I don't know. I always feel that when I have a challenge and something's bothering me, it's kind of like God grabbing the reins and pulling me back and saying, halt, stop your stubbornness and let me guide for a while. And that works if you just relax and let your inner guidance tell you where to go and what to do. We either succumb to our problems or we overcome them. That's the only choices we have. We succeed or we fail. Giving up is not really an option.
No.
If we want a happy life, we have to keep persevering, keep on keeping on. I had a real good minister friend who always said that, keep on keeping on. Well, darn it, sometimes it's too hard to keep on keeping on. I just want to stop and wait, but I can't do that. So anyway, getting out of depression is a big giant task. It's difficult, but the hardest thing is the very first step. Until you can get to that step that says, hey, I do have a problem.
Yeah.
And I do want to solve it. I can't keep putting these blinders on and saying, oh, nothing's wrong. Happy day. You can't do that. You've got to figure out, face it. It can't be any worse if you face it. But if you run from it, it really can be worse, because I believe that if you don't do it the first time, you get another chance, and they're each one harder. That's scary for me anyway.
Yeah.
So this whole book is about a 3-step journey. The first part is knowing that it's possible to get out of depression. It's absolutely possible. You don't have to stay there. It's a process. It's not an event. You don't just snap your fingers and you're out. You don't just take a pill and you're out. You don't just go to a counselor and you're out. You got to do some work. It is an internal job. When you get through, though, the benefit is that you have a much better life, a much happier life, a more fulfilling life. You know, there have been times in my life when I thought, do I really have to go through this? Can't I figure out a way around it? And my internal guidance says, nope, head on. I'm stubborn. I'm from Missouri. So I'm a hard-headed mule. And sometimes I kick. But anyway, I want to get through with my problem, solve it as quickly as possible, and then get on. So that's the steps that are going on. Each one of them are listed in the book. I do have a website. It's jacklynbrown.com. All one word, all small letters. It's so simple. And if you go on there, you'll find the book, some information, a blog. I don't know. They've just done a magnificent job of putting it all together. And now I understand they're going to put the podcast on too. So it's really great. Well, now that we're down to receiving the benefits, we can just open up our mind and our heart and say, thank you, universe, for sending me all this goodness into my life. Thank me for having the strength to move through the whole process. Because I believe that no matter how painful the experience, there's always a seed of good waiting to burst forth. And all you have to do is find that seed, much like Mike trying to solve some of these problems that I knew nothing about. Calculus, all of the things that I've gone through in my life. Yeah. And so you just have to work on it and let it burst forth. This belief allows us then to move past those dark moments and into the sunshine, into the brightness of life. And it's interesting that when you think that all these rain clouds and roadblocks are stopping you, they're not. They're just letting you learn. And if you learn from that lesson, then you can move on. As I said, my former husband was an Air Force pilot and in the war, and it was a tumultuous relationship at times. I tried to keep quiet, but I'm kind of outspoken. Anyway, when he passed, I thought, no, I don't want any more of that anymore in my life. So I sat down and I designed my ideal husband. Named all the things I wanted and all the things I didn't want. And my friend says, you can't do that. You got to broaden your horizons. You'll never meet anybody. And I said, well, if I don't meet anybody, that's fine. But this is what I want. I got him. So we just happened to meet one Sunday. I was a greeter at church and I gave him a hug and he kept coming back to church. and we got acquainted. So we got married. Wonderful. And, it's a blessing that came from me being stubborn enough to want to solve that problem and know what I wanted. So many people don't have the foggiest notion of what they want in their life. They just kind of go with whatever flows. And I think you have to take charge. Do you have any questions?
You've answered all of them.
All of them.
All of them. But there is one. There's
Okay.
one question. How did you get over depression?
Because I decided I couldn't live there. I had too much other stuff I had to do, and I had kids, and I needed to get myself back under control, maybe give God the reins, as they say, and guide me through that time. But I never got help outside of just my own inner self.
Wow. That
I
is
know.
strong. That you're a strong woman. Definitely. Definitely a strong woman. And to put this in a book where other people can benefit from your experience and your understanding of how to come out of it without outside help, but just your book alone and them deciding to not want to live there. That is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And to get the right husband, darling, let me tell you something. We're going to all have to be over here praying. Hello. I'm sorry.
Well, actually, in the book,
All the women have lists. All of them. We all have lists.
I think the book lists what I put in it and my arguments. I've argued, well, if he's this way, then this is going to happen. And I argued back and forth with myself until I had detailed what I wanted. And then he just walked in. He hasn't said a crossword to me in 7 years, almost 8 years.
Wow. That's a wonderful thing.
Yeah. So, and we think alike, we believe alike, and it's wonderful.
That is wonderful.
Very
that
supportive.
Yes, definitely wonderful. Well, Ms. Brown, where can people find your book? I mean, they're going to have to find it.
Well, they can find it on the website. They can find it on Amazon. And I'm sure they'll be able to find it in some of the bookstores as we go on. The website again is just Jacklyn, JACKLYN, BROWN.com. And the book is Climbing Out of Depression.
That's right. And we all know someone, or it might even be you, climbing out of depression. That might be a book that you might want to get.
Or share.
Oh, yeah. Or share. Definitely. Thank you, Ms. Brown, for being on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I didn't mean to tell you all these things,
No, it's good. I'm good. We're good. It's wonderful. We need this. Definitely need this. And thank you so much. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're going to have all of that information in the description box so that you can go ahead and click on that or grab and paste it into your browser. Click enter. It'll be easy for you guys to go ahead and get that. We'll also put that in the Amazon bookstore, so it'll be easier for you to find it. All you have to do is just go ahead and go to that link in the description box below. That way you can go ahead and find that there. Thank you guys so much. Climbing Out of Depression. That's one for the books right there, because a lot of us are going through that. And if that's you, go ahead and check this book out today. And until next time, don't forget to dare to be different. Bye.